Hare Krishna. Dear devotee,
Hare
I,
Krishna Prabhu.
I warmly welcome you for this session of Prabhupada Leelamrut. The long-awaited inauguration of Radha Londoniswara will happen today by the grace of the Lord. And before that, we will chant our Mangalasharam prayers. Om Jnanatirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuron Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadandikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Shri Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे राम राम हरे हरे. Hare Krishna devotees, once again I very warmly welcome you for this session of Prabhupada Leelamrut. We are titling it as Radha Londoniswara Manifest. So we will see how in a very amazing way the Lord will manifest in London. Uh, it's a very amazing reciprocation between the devotee and the Supreme Lord that is going to unfold in this session. How? So that amazing exchange, how it happens between a pure devotee and the Lord, is something uh, which will be astonishing for all of us to hear. So, without much ado, let us proceed further. How the whole thing happens. So, Prabhupada takes his morning walks. This in right now, Prabhupada is in uh, Tetanust Park estate of John Lennon. So there, these discussions happen. Ishana is asking how we came to Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada says, because you are intelligent. Intelligent people will come to Krishna consciousness because they can understand that it makes complete sense. Without Krishna consciousness, nothing in this world actually makes sense. Because you are intelligent, you have come. That's how Prabhupada explains. And when his wife, she asked, what is the meaning of spiritual master? Srila Prabhupada explains, that's a technical term, forget it. I am your spiritual father. To every devotee, I am actually the spiritual father. So that is the clarification Srila Prabhupada gives. And that is how ISKCON took root and developed in the USA and in the rest of the world. Prabhupada treated them all as his children. With children, you always give a long rope. They make mistakes and you forgive them and you keep on endeavoring to turn them to the right path. So that's what Srila Prabhupada is doing. With all the children, all the devotees in the West, he treated them as children and gradually he brought them. And Srila Prabhupada was play acting Jiva Jago. You all know this song, Jiva Jago, right? If anyone doesn't know, please raise your hand. I don't think any of you needs to be told what is this Jiva Jago. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu every day morning in Navadvip, he goes out on his morning kirtan and he's waking up all the souls. And Srila Prabhupada is mimicking that in that Tittenhurst Park where huge grass, overgrown grass, even above the head. But in between, there was a pathway made by a tractor. Srila Prabhupada was walking through that pathway and he was dancing and he was showing this is how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was waking up all the souls Jiva Jago, you are sleeping on the lap of Maya, the witch called Maya, and you wake up now and come back to the spiritual world like that. Srila Prabhupada is singing Kirtan in his room. Amazing Kirtan Srila Prabhupada is singing in Tiruna's Park, and they start recording it also. And Yamuna Mataji used to shed tears just by hearing the Kirtan. She would be sitting downstairs, and Srila Prabhupada would call her upstairs. You want to listen? You like this Kirtan? And she would sit there, yes, Prabhupada, very much. And Prabhupada said, though you don't understand the meaning, I am singing Bengali or Sanskrit, but doesn't matter. These are spiritual vibrations that are coming from spiritual world. It has got its own power. Whether you understand or not, it will work on you. And Srila Prabhupada recorded so many beautiful songs there. And Prabhupada taught them how to make sandesh. All the devotees, American devotees, they were making different kinds of American sweets like pies and other things. And Prabhupada was taking it out of respect for them. But Prabhupada said, doesn't anyone know how to make sandesh? They did not even know what is sandesh. Then Prabhupada himself taught them, and they made some kind of an average sandesh, but Prabhupada relished it. And from that time onwards, every day Prabhupada used to take only sandesh. And Srila Prabhupada had, uh, they had arranged meetings for Prabhupada. You remember, Prabhupada came to London in September, and Prabhupada set the date as December, even though the devotee said, Prabhupada, it is impossible. Prabhupada said, no, you have to do it. And December 14th was set as the inauguration date for the London temple. And Shyam Sundar Prabhu, he was working. He's the one who made the whole thing happen. And he's also working hands on in building the interior of the temple. Exterior, there is no work because they are not allowed to change the exterior in London. These buildings are period buildings. They are heritage buildings. They are not allowed to touch anything from outside. Inside, he was doing amazing woodwork with excellent architecture and all. The Prabhupada said, we were taking so much trouble. But then Prabhupada did not interfere. Another thing at this point, Satsvarup Maharaj says, Prabhupada would never interfere in the way a devotee wants to perform his service to Krishna, except to correct them when they are deviating from the set standards. But apart from that, each of them, Prabhupada gave complete freedom. Prabhupada said 80% freedom to the devotees on how they want to serve their Lord. We can all take hope from all these things. You should not deviate from the essential main trunk road, what is laid down for Krishna consciousness, which is you should have the feeling, out of deep feeling in your heart, you should do that. At the same time, you should be aware of what the Shastra says. Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, you don't deviate from that. But keeping this in mind, you can serve Krishna in an amazing number of ways. And that's why Krishna has created unlimited number of souls, each soul having a unique relationship with Krishna, having an inclination to serve Krishna in a unique way. So Prabhupada gave them complete freedom. And Srila Prabhupada one day met Lennon, and he asked him, what is the philosophy you are following? And Lennon and his wife, Yoko Ono, they said, following? We don't follow anything. We just live our life. So it is very similar to our own situation until we came to Krishna consciousness, until Prabhupada taught us Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. These are the only leading principles of your life. If you don't have them, you have an animal society, animal civilization. That's all. And that is what the world has come to in Kali Yuga, because we don't accept anyone's guidelines, anyone's instructions. We reject the Shastras altogether. We have a government called democratic government. Why? Only so that we can dismantle whatever restrictions still remain in the society. Do you agree with me or not? The purpose of the democratically elected government is to dismantle more and more the restrictions, whatever exists in the society. In a decent society, the kind of movies we have today will not be permitted. The kind of songs we have today, the kind of billboards that we have today, the kind of marketing techniques that people adopt today, the kind of meat eating, the intoxication, illicit sex and gambling that is going on today in an unrestricted way. It would not have been permitted in the society even 30, 40, 50 years ago. Day after day, things are getting loosened further and further. And that is the whole purpose of a democratic society, which means we want to break whatever rules our ancestors and the scriptures have made for us. These restrictions are actually, in Prabhupada's words, they are for freedom. They are the principles of freedom. They are not principles of restriction, actually. By following these things, you truly experience freedom from the tyranny of your mind. Otherwise, the mind is constantly demanding different kinds of gratification. But by following the rules, you are bringing your mind into a proper path, and you can, from that time, it is on a leash. The mind cannot wander in a totally uncontrolled way. So these are the things, and I think I've already spoken to you all these things. Prabhupada appeared on the talk show, TV talk show, and the talk show, the interviewer was a very terrible guy, famous for putting the interviewees to great discomfort and getting happiness out of that. And he asked this question: in your religion, do you have the concept of hell? And Prabhupada immediately said, yes, and London is hell. And Prabhupada went on to explain that. Later on, when the interviewer was so uncomfortable, he could not even open his mouth. Then Prabhupada very encouragingly said, but it is to the credit of the English people that in such a hellish atmosphere, you have been able to create a massive, huge civilization, successful civilization like that. And they went to Amsterdam. In Amsterdam, Prabhupada spoke about what is Krishna consciousness. And the second moon landing happened when Prabhupada was in Tetanus Park, and his personal secretary by name Purushottam was a great American patriot, even though he had become a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. And between them, some amazing exchanges happened. Purushottam was unable to appreciate Srila Prabhupada saying they did not land on the moon. Purushottam was very dissatisfied, and they were both sitting in front of the TV and watching live what they were projecting. And Prabhupada said, have they landed on the moon? Purushottam said, yes, very excitedly. What did they see there? And Purushottam says, oh, there are rocks and sand and soil, and there we can see the shadow of the rocks projected on the floor, all that. And Prabhupada was laughing. This is not the moon. They have not landed on the moon like that. Subsequently, Purushottam became distant to Srila Prabhupada because he was not able to accept Srila Prabhupada suspecting, doubting the moon landing itself. And slowly he became distant. And he became less and less respectful towards Srila Prabhupada. And he became shabby in his appearance, whether it was the tilak or the dress he was wearing, or whether he was shaving, all these things. And Prabhupada noticed this. And one day Prabhupada said, who is the most well-dressed person here? And Prabhupada himself pointed a finger towards Yamuna Mataji, and he said, she is the most well-dressed person here. And Prabhupada said, uh, he asked her, how many saris are you having? Every day you were wearing a new sari, nicely pressed and all that. And Yamuna Mataji blushed and she said, no, Srila Prabhupada, I have only two saris, two simple cotton saris. But every day I take care to wash them nicely and press them nicely and wear them. And Prabhupada said, who is wearing the best tilak here? And again he said, Yamuna Mataji. And all this was to tell Purushottam to wake up, to change his attitude, and to become uh, uh, more involved in Krishna consciousness. But somehow Purushottam was actually growing more and more distant. This is one thing. And the ghosts, have I spoken to you about the ghosts last time? Or Hare Krishna? Because
No, Prabhu. No, Prabhu.
I have not spoken about ghosts in the last class.
No,
Well,
Prabhu.
No, Prabhuji.
okay. Okay. So, see, in Tetanam Park, the devotees take their morning walks. At that time, there was one very old Georgian building. In that building, one builder was living there along with his wife. And he was also contracted by Lennon to construct a chamber for recording studio. So they were doing the building work. So they would never talk. An Englishman and his wife, they were living there. But one day they called the devotees and they said, do you believe in ghosts? So the devotees said, yes, yes, we believe in ghosts. People who had a unusual death, prematurely, if people die for various reasons like accident or murder, etc., or suicide, they become ghosts and they wander until their time comes. So for a long time, they suffer like that and all that. Then this man said, actually, we are having ghosts in the house in which we are living, in this old house. And will you please help us to get them out? Because we see that you are godly people. So can you help us? Immediately the disciples went back, promptly relayed everything to Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, all right, no problem. You take the water with which you have chanted the holy name, and take the conch, and take the bell, and you go there, sprinkle this water everywhere, and you chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, ring the bells, blow the conches and all that, the ghosts will go away. So the devotees went there, and when they went into that house, they noticed that there was the environment itself was very strange, eerie atmosphere they felt. There was a picture, there was a statue of a man from whom something was coming out, another being was coming out, like that they saw a statue. There were different symbols on the walls indicating some super or inhuman kind of symbols were projected there. So the devotees realized, and they even felt some kind of a tightness as they went there, suffocation, that you cannot even breathe properly. The devotees sensed that. Immediately they started playing the kartals and they started sounding the conch and they started Harinam Sankirtan in a loud way and they sprinkled the water everywhere. This went on for 15, 20 minutes and suddenly they could sense something lifting. Something was becoming free. Something had gone away. The evil had left, and the place had become very peaceful and very spiritual. And the people, the devotees, enjoyed their chanting there. And they came out and they informed Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, "Yes, the ghosts have gone away." And next time they saw this, before that, this man was telling, "The ghosts are troubling us so much. There are some unusual sounds coming. We hear the sound of a dead body being dragged across the floor. We are getting that sound. And one day, nobody was present, but my wife's shoulders were being shaken like anything. And she became very scared. So all these experiences were there. But in 15 minutes, by the grace of Srila Prabhupada, the ghosts left. So Srila Prabhupada said they have become liberated. And Prabhupada subsequently said, actually, there are many ghosts in this estate. Not only in that building, Prabhupada said, particularly in the stable area and in some of the trees, Prabhupada is actually seeing these ghosts. So Prabhupada said, yes, there are ghosts here. And Prabhupada was invited by John Lennon to his house to hear a new record called Cold Turkey. He was releasing that and he wanted Srila Prabhupada to hear that. No reason why Prabhupada should hear that. But somehow Lennon invited and Srila Prabhupada wanted to show due respect to him. He's the host. So Prabhupada went to his room. Only Purushottam went with Prabhupada into the house. Other devotees are waiting outside the window and watching what happens inside. Because how Prabhupada reacts to this Western music, it has nothing to do with Srila Prabhupada's mission. And so they were watching. And John Lennon had a huge theater set up there. And he had huge controls which he was trying to operate. It was a 26 track recording. So he was trying to play the tape. But he was twiddling here, there. It was not playing. 5 minutes passed, 10 minutes passed. Lennon simply could not make it play. The devotees outside were laughing. They never wanted their guru to hear this kind of music. And it was not working. Finally, John Lennon threw up his hands. It is not working. Srila Prabhupada, don't worry, doesn't matter. Don't get worried about it. I have brought a record which our devotees have recorded. Maybe we can hear that together. He had no choice but to play it. So they heard Hare Krishna for the next half an hour. And after that, Srila Prabhupada left. He did not stay very long in his house. But while going, Srila Prabhupada noticed a life-size framed picture of naked John Lennon and his wife. Life-size picture, framed picture. He also saw so many other lewd uh, pictures all over the house. Prabhupada did not like it. So Prabhupada, as soon as he came back, he said, this is not a place for devotees to live. Let us vacate as quickly as possible. I don't want to stay here. Find me a place near the temple, which we are building in Bari place, and let me move there. Let me supervise the construction at the temple. I don't want to stay here anymore. So quickly, devotees found a place for Prabhupada to stay very close to Bari place in a place called Baker Street, the famous Baker Street, which anyone who read Sherlock Holmes, they would have heard about this, Baker Street. So that is where Prabhupada was put up there. And soon after, the devotees also left John Lennon's estate. They all shifted to London. And before leaving Srila Prabhupada, he was taking a walk in the estate. He would stand near some trees, he would touch them and stand for some time in the tree, looking up and down. Then he would go to another tree, he would do the same thing. Like this, he was doing with several trees and bushes and all that before leaving. Then finally, Srila Prabhupada, the devotees were watching, they did not know what Prabhupada was conveying to these plants and vegetation, what exchange he was having. But then Prabhupada left. And that night, there was a huge storm in the Titanus Park estate. Huge storm. The windows were rattled and broken. The glass panes were broken. And same time, many trees fell down in that storm. So you can make out what happened. I don't know. This is what Satsvarup Maharaj says. Prabhupada had personally contacted these trees, and perhaps it was the same trees that actually fell down that day. George Harrison recalls his unique relationship with Srila Prabhupada. He was not a open devotee like a shaved head, tuft, and shika and dhoti, kantimala, tilak and all. But he was actually a plain clothes devotee. He realized that George Harrison and Prabhupada appreciated. Prabhupada never wanted him to become a full-time devotee like the others. And George Harrison recalls, never did I feel any pressure from Srila Prabhupada to do something like that. On the contrary, Prabhupada said, whatever opulences that you have, these are the gifts of the Lord. Please use them in the service of the Krishna. Please record songs that will turn people towards God. So George Harrison was very, very happy to engage with Srila Prabhupada in that way. And he had great, great regard for Srila Prabhupada. There are more details, but I will skip it for now. So Srila Prabhupada is now in London. He's in the Baker Street. And from Baker Street, he further moved into the temple. Temple was not ready, as I was telling. Prabhupada had a room there. Room was also not finished. But Prabhupada said, the noises that is coming in the temple, they are like music to me. I don't want to stay comfortably anywhere. I can stay in any kind of a place. I will stay inside the temple. So Prabhupada moved into the temple under construction, full of noise day and night. Prabhupada stayed there. He was doing his translation work. He was living simply, setting a very good example for all the devotees, and devotees becoming very enthused. When Prabhupada is sitting among them and they are doing the work around him, devotees were very, very happy. So December 14th is the date of inauguration that is set. In the meantime, Krishna book was published. I have to give you one more detail. The financing of this temple, how it happened, can anybody guess? Such a big temple, such a huge project, how it was financed? Yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, is it that record copies which was sold, Prabhuji?
Correct. So the money was coming from the record sales. They were selling initially it was more than 70,000 records were being sold. And then it slowly fell 50,000. It was remaining on the top of the pops for many weeks in the whole of Europe, even Australia and UK. So a lot of money was coming. And by the kindness of George Harrison, much of this royalty came to ISKCON. And they used it for building a grand temple for Lord Sri Krishna. But eventually, a record, how long it will collect, then the steady sales will be there, but that kind of numbers will come down, right? Whoever wants it has purchased it the day of the release or within a week or 10 days, 15 days. So then the sales dwindle. So the inflow was also coming down, and devotees had to manage with that also. So some financial constraint, but the project is going on. The project is strenuous. Everything is done with redwood that was imported from the West. So that was going on. Shyam Sundar was working practically day and night. In the meantime, Krishna book had to be published. So Srila Prabhupada sent Shyam Sundar to George Harrison to ask him for a donation to finance the book. 18,000 pounds. Imagine, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, 80,000 pounds, says 18,000 pounds. So Shyam Sundar very much hesitated because he was like a friend to George Harrison. He would never ask him for any help. And George Harrison appreciated that because anyone who sees Harrison will naturally be looking for some kind of a financial help for some project or the other. But Shyam Sundar had never asked him for anything till now. So, but now he was, when Prabhupada asked him to do it, he very much hesitated. But Prabhupada insisted. Krishna book is urgent. It cannot wait. With so much pains, I have written it. It has to reach the people. So finally, George Harrison went. I will tell it very briefly. He was in the house of George Harrison, and they were having a conversation. Evening time, they had some snacks and all that. And the time passed. It became night. And till now, Shyam had not asked anything. But time to leave had come, and Shyam Sundar had to finally ask it. So he said, Srila Prabhupada wants you to donate 18,000 pounds to finance his Krishna book publication. Immediately, the face of George Harrison changed. As though, oh, you were also the same kind of people, like that. The expression. Immediately, what happened? Outside, it was raining heavily. Outside the house, it was raining heavily. And suddenly, there was a huge thunderclap. There was bright light, instantly followed by a huge sound, and light went off. All the lights in the house went off. Few seconds later or minutes later, the lights were restored. And now George Harrison was laughing and he was telling Shyam Sundar, how can I refuse that? This is an order from God. He didn't say that, I am saying it. Simply, George Harrison said, how can I refuse that? And he gave the money. With that, the book was published, and he wrote a foreword for that book, for which he was extremely grateful. George Harrison said, I am not qualified to write a foreword for this book, but Srila Prabhupada insisted, and I had to write. So that is how the Krishna book happened. In the meantime, the temple is almost ready, but the deities are not yet there. Deities are not there. And there were some small deities, wooden deities that Prabhupada was worshipping, but Prabhupada did not want to install them there. Meantime, Shyam Sundar had erected a huge altar. Very clearly, it required large deities. He had made 4 pillars of solid red wood. Height is some 6 to 9 feet high, tall pillars, and a canopy on that, a marble canopy with velvet working on that. And the pillars would hold up that canopy, and the deities would be installed inside. So nobody knew how the deities will come. Prabhupada was not talking about it. Suddenly there was a phone call. I hope all of you are listening very, very carefully, because you may see, suddenly you may think, no, I didn't hear this properly like that. So please hear very carefully. Suddenly there was a phone call to the temple from one Mr. Doyal. He was the president of a Hindu society in London. And he called to ask to the devotees, we have a deity of Radha Krishna here. Not for your temple. Don't jump to conclusions. He said, we have a deity here. We imported from India to install in our Hindu society. But before the Prana Pratishtha could happen, we realized when the deities arrived by ship, when we opened, we found the little finger of Radharani had been chipped. So, according to our tradition, Hindu tradition, we should not install a deity which is deformed. So, I want to ask your spiritual master, can he come? So, the devotees promptly relayed this to Srila Prabhupada. So, this is the background. So, Srila Prabhupada called Shyam Sundar and Tamal Krishna, 2 devotees. Please join me, let's go to that house. So, they took the car and they went to that house. And they entered the house, and Prabhupada was talking to Mr. Dayal. He was talking to him about his profession, about what he's doing, how much he's earning, whether the business is flourishing. He was talking to each of his family members, wife, children, each of them. The devotees were anxious. Prabhupada talked to him about the deities, because devotees thought we can somehow get it for our temple. And Prabhupada was not serious at all. In the meantime, Mr. Dayal was also saying, would you like to see? In a corner of the room, the deities were there, covered by a cloth. So Mr. Dayal wanted to remove the cloth and show Srila Prabhupada. Would you like to see? Would you like to see? Prabhupada showed no anxiety at all. All these things, you should you should read in Leelamrit in great detail. I'm just hurrying through. And ultimately, Prabhupada said, all right, as though he's not at all interested. He said, okay, remove the cloth, let us see. And he removed the cloth, and Srila Prabhupada looked at the beautiful Radha and Krishna standing there, beaming at him. And Srila Prabhupada immediately told Shyam Sundar, go and lift Srimati Radharani, see how heavy she is, can you carry? And he didn't even say, can you carry? He just told him. Immediately Shyam Sundar went and lifted Srimati Radharani in his hand, a few inches, and he said, yes, Prabhupada. All right. Tamal Krishna, you go and lift Krishna and see how heavy. Tamal Krishna went and lifted. Yeah, okay. Then immediately Prabhupada got up and said, okay, take them to the car. Prabhupada walked out without even saying a word to Mr. Dayal. Mr. Dayal and the family were dumbstruck. They were just standing, not knowing what to do. They were running behind. Prabhupada. Prabhupada did not turn. He just went down and they entered the car. Prabhupada said, put the deities on the back seat. So deities were put on the back seat. And the 3 people sat on the front seat. And Prabhupada finally waved and the car started. Start the car immediately. They started the car. After covering a few blocks, Prabhupada said, stop the car. The car was stopped. And Prabhupada turned in his seat and he said, remove the cloth. The cloth was removed. And there was Radha Londoniswara standing there. And Prabhupada offered his obeisances right from the car with so much gratitude. Thank you, Radha and Krishna for appearing for us, for our temple. And they were taken to the temple and they became the Radha Londoniswara deities, which you even today see in that buried place temple. So the deities went and the temple is almost ready. The day before the temple has to be opened, December 14 is the date. December 13, Shyam Sundar collapsed in exhaustion. If you recall, same thing happened to him in where? Recall anything? You remember Shyam Sundar?
No, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
No, San Francisco.
San Fran-
Actually, Shyam Sundar had never seen New York. He was not an original devotee. He became a devotee through Mukunda and Janaki. They were going to San Francisco. On the way, they met Shyam Sundar, a long-time friend, and then just by seeing Mukunda and Janaki, Shyam Sundar became so much inspired. At that time, his name was Sandy. Sanders, something like that. And he cooperated with Mukunda to get the San Francisco temple ready. And then they invited Srila Prabhupada, and then he got initiated along with his wife as Shyam Sundar and Malathi. So there, he made the Jagannath deities, Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra deities. Prabhupada gave a small model and he said, make a big size statue. I don't know how many feet, 4 feet, 5 feet, like that. Immediately he bought the wood and he cut them into pieces and then he started making the deities. He worked again day and night and he fell in exhaustion. He also got a chip lodged in his finger, the wood chip, and that became septic and he had to be in the hospital. Prabhupada said purification is happening. And here, after working day and night to get the temple ready, including the altar, you remember the elephant leg pillars. He called them the elephant leg pillars, very huge pillars. They were holding up the huge canopy. Everything was ready. But then he fell in exhaustion and he had to be sent to hospital for treatment. Now, tomorrow is the inauguration day. The day of inauguration has arrived and there is a curtain, and outside the curtain, the entire press is waiting because the whole thing is sponsored by Apple Studio. Apple Studio is a big name, the Beatles. So huge crowd, so many press reporters, television channels with cameras and everything waiting. And there is a curtain, so they are waiting for the curtain to open. Behind the curtain, in one corner, Srila Prabhupada and Yamuna Mataji, they were bathing the Radha Londoniswara deities. So, and then Yamuna Mataji put on the dress that she had prepared. So, and then they took the deities and put them on the altar. Now the inauguration has to begin. But when the deities were kept on the altar, please listen carefully. The elephant columns, they started shaking. And the huge canopy, the heavy marble canopy, it started shifting. In an instant, Srila Prabhupada was on the altar. Prabhupada was not on the altar. Prabhupada was in front. And in a moment, Prabhupada jumped onto the altar and he held the two massive elephant-like pillars with his hands. Superhuman, what he did. Others were not watching. They were behind the screen, the public. But some devotees were there, and the devotees were amazed by what Prabhupada did. And in a lion's roar, Prabhupada said, remove the canopy from here. Get it out of here. So they first removed the huge canopy, heavy canopy, they removed. And then 4 people at a time took each pillar away from there. That was the weight. And you can imagine these American boys, they are sturdy boys. It needed 4 of them to carry the pillars. Prabhupada single, two-handedly, he held up 2 pillars sufficiently long so that the deities could be shifted, the canopy could be removed, all that. So there was no canopy, no pillars. They were taking the pillars out. And when the pillars were going out of the curtain, the press was following. They were thinking, oh, this must be Indian ritual, something. Before deity installation, maybe they will carry some pillars like this. They did not understand the whole story. Only the devotees knew what actually had happened. Then eventually deities were made ready and the curtains were opened and one of the devotees offered Arati. Srila Prabhupada did not do Arati. Arati was offered by one of the devotees and Prabhupada was standing by the side and very lovingly gazing at the beautiful forms of Radha Londoniswara. So this is how the temple in London eventually opened up. But at last, we have heard the story. I am so glad we were having so many difficulties somehow to complete this London episode. So it's something very, very amazing. Srila Prabhupada is now 73 years old. He has already 21 temples in 3 years. Prabhupada launched ISKCON in 1966 and 69. He is already having 21 temples. And Prabhupada wants to form a GBC so that the GBC will take care of all administrative tasks. And Srila Prabhupada will be free to translate books, which is his most important contribution. Of course, without Prabhupada, nothing could have really happened. But still, Prabhupada's focus is on translation. Prabhupada said, please free me from all these administrative tasks. But just see, in this one episode in London, what had happened was Shyam Sundar had prepared the columns and the canopy also had been placed on top, but he had to fasten them. But before he could do that, he was exhausted and fell, and perhaps he also forgot about it. Because he was the one man handling everything, nobody knew that it was not fastened. So what could have happened? The deities could have been crushed to powder had Prabhupada not done this particular. The whole thing could have become a disaster. But this is the amazing way it was revealed that still the devotees need Prabhupada to guide them in each and everything. Even though they are willing to work hard 24 hours, but still they need the mature, pure devotee guidance from Srila Prabhupada. So that is what was seen. And Yamuna Mataji, she's making a comment. Srila Prabhupada loved the deities of Radha Londoniswara. Why not? Why not? They had appeared voluntarily. Prabhupada simply built the temple, you see. Acha, let me tell you one story. Is there anyone here who belongs to the Vijayawada side in Andhra Pradesh? Anyone? Vijayawada, Machilipatnam, have you heard? Anyone? Okay. So I will tell you the story. I was serving in Vijayawada for a couple of years. At that time, I used to go out for inspections. So I once went to Machilipatnam, which is a seashore in Andhra Pradesh. And there, they showed me one Vittal temple. Now you all know Pandharpur, Vittal, that this thing is going on, no? Dindi, what they call? That yatra, no? They go by foot, barefoot. All the people go, and then Ashada Ekadashi, there'll be an amazing festival there. So that Pandharinath, many people from India, they had this habit of regularly going to Pandharpur. So in Machilipatnam, I saw one huge temple of Pandharinath, almost like what you see in Pandharpur. So I was so surprised. Who did this? Then the Pujari explained to me that he is the third generation of the builder of the temple. And he was an engineer by profession, but he quit the job and he is now fully taking care of the temple only. Nicely maintained temple. Same like Rukmini Vittal is there in the main altar, and you will see one Hanumanji on the opposite side. So it's a long story. I will try to make it short. This devotee who built the temple, he was a goldsmith. He would regularly take a bullock cart and go to Pandharpur to visit the Lord. Maybe every month, maybe once in 2 months, regularly he was going. But eventually he became old. And the Lord appeared in his dream and said, please don't any longer come to my temple. And the devotee started weeping and weeping. Why should I not go? Why the Lord is prohibiting me? The Lord said, you have become too old. I don't want you to come. So he was crestfallen. Then the Lord further disclosed, I am coming to your place. You build a temple for me. No need to make the deities. Just build a temple and I will manifest. So he started building the temple, trusting this dream, and he made a massive temple. Maybe if you get a chance, please do go to Machilipatnam. This massive temple was ready, and no more information whether the Lord will come. Then eventually he got another dream. Temple is completely ready. Altar is empty. Deities are not there. Altar is built. Deities are not there. So another dream he got, and he said, such and such date, midnight, 12 o'clock, I am going to manifest. He got the message from the Lord. And the news spread throughout the town. And there was so much hullabaloo. This was during the British time. The British collector was very disturbed. What is going on? There is going to be a riot or something, so much crowds coming. So he said, I am locking the temple. All sides the temple was locked with chains. And this poor devotee was sitting and crying, crying, crying. When the Lord will appear, how the Lord will appear, and all that. Crying, he slept, and Hanumanji appeared in his dream. And he said, don't worry, as told, the Lord will appear at 12 o'clock. So there is now a Hanumanji deity also to remind you of how the whole thing happened. Midnight, what happened? The chains broke, the doors opened, and there the Lord manifested at midnight, the deities of Rukmini and Vittal. So that temple, you can still go and take darshan. The deities are exactly identical, and the priest very kindly allows you to embrace their lotus feet and cry. So, like that, here is the instance of how the deity manifested for Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada was building the temple and the deity manifested. So Prabhupada loved the deities. Yamuna Mataji says he saw them with complete devotion. Yamuna Mataji is not looking at the deities, mind you. She is looking at Prabhupada. This is one thing you will see with all Prabhupada's disciples. They don't care for the deities. Not that they don't care, but they care more for their spiritual master. They only look at his every expression, every word. They hang on him. What he will do, how he will speak, how he will move. Even some of the devotees, they recollect how Prabhupada would be eating one orange. And after eating the orange, Prabhupada, Juta, no, you should not touch with your finger. What Prabhupada would do? He would spit out the seed in such a fashion that it will go straight away and land in the dustbin very perfectly. And the devotee appreciates that. So many ways they appreciate the way Prabhupada eats his prasadam, they appreciate the way Prabhupada is chanting and walking, and how Prabhupada is wearing his tilak. You will see such loving relationship. That's why Prabhupada said, I'm not your spiritual master, I'm your spiritual father. So then, matter of factly, Srila Prabhupada told Yamuna Mataji, listen to this carefully, this is for all of us, this message. If you practice what I have taught, and follow the instructions on deity worship, and read the books that I have printed, it will be sufficient for you to go back home to Godhead. You need not learn anything new. Simply practice what I taught, and your life will be perfect. This is what Srila Prabhupada told later on to Yamuna Mataji, one of his most intimate disciples. You heard this, like first Prabhupada met her in New York, then subsequently he saw her in San Francisco, where she surrendered her life. She was a businesswoman, very successful, from a very wealthy family, but she surrendered herself completely to Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada told her, let us read it again. If you practice what I have taught and follow the instructions on deity worship and read the books that I printed, it will be sufficient for you to go back home, back to Godhead. So what you have to do? You have to practice what you have. Simply not to learn, but not practice. That's not the correct way, right? We should learn and we should practice. It is not enough to simply worship the spiritual master, correct? We should take his words seriously. There is no difference between the spiritual master and his words. His Vapu and Vani are not different. But spiritual master is more pleased when you serve his Vani rather than his Vapu. So here is Srila Prabhupada telling, practice what I have taught and follow the instructions on deity worship. So now here is the focus on deity worship. Holy name, and now he sees deity worship. And read the books that I have printed. It will be sufficient for you to go back home, back to Godhead. You need not learn anything new. Look at this guarantee. At the time, Prabhupada had not published all his books. Very few books had been published. Many more are going to come. But Prabhupada says, you need not learn anything new. Simply practice what I taught, and your life will be perfect. Then Yamuna Mataji says, then he left London, just left. That's all. He manifested Radha Londoniswara, but then he left. Why? He has more services to do for the Lord. Yeah. So now we know how to make our lives perfect. We have got the perfect spiritual master, but now it is left to us that we make our life perfect and go back home in this lifetime. Srila Prabhupada said about some of his devotees who were chanting but not following the regulative principles. So Prabhupada said, if you're not following my instructions fully, it may take 300 lifetimes for you to go back to God. But even that is a small number. Amazing. You may take 300 lifetimes, but I want you to come back to Krishna in one lifetime. That's what I want from you. So Prabhupada said, very much Prabhupada insisted that instructions, what I have given, must be followed. So, do we have some time? We still have some time? Yeah. So now we are going back because we were so busy with the London temple. I skipped some events that happened earlier. I am now returning to them. Srila Prabhupada was watching moon landing with Purushottama and Dhananjaya. Purushottama was the one patriot. Dhananjaya is also an American. And he is massaging Srila Prabhupada's head, standing behind Srila Prabhupada. Imagine this. Prabhupada wanted a TV to be installed so that they were relaying the live moon landing and the TV was there. Prabhupada was sitting on the sofa looking at the TV. Behind him, Dhananjaya is massaging. So obviously, he is also looking at the TV. And then there is Purushottama who is glued on the TV screen. Now, Prabhupada suddenly told Dhananjaya, come in front. Dhananjaya thought Prabhupada is calling him to watch. So Dhananjaya came and sat in front of Prabhupada. Immediately, Prabhupada started massaging his head. And Prabhupada said, don't you know how to massage? This is the way you massage. Now go back. He returned to his massaging. Again, Srila Prabhupada said, no, come in front. So this time also Dhananjaya thought, okay, now Prabhupada wants me to watch because interesting things are happening. Again, Prabhupada started massaging. And Dhananjaya returned again to massage Srila Prabhupada. Meantime, Prabhupada was teasing Purushottama like anything. So eventually, as I told, the distancing happened. Then finally, when Prabhupada returned to America, then Purushottama left Srila Prabhupada. That story also I told you last time, or did I not? I'm a little confused. Anyone remembers that the story of Purushottama leaving I have covered or not?
No, Prabhuji. I don't
Okay.
think so.
Okay. So Prabhupada is in New York, and after London, Prabhupada goes to New York, and in New York, Srila Prabhupada is giving a class, and after the class, this Purushottama comes to Srila Prabhupada and says, I am leaving. So Prabhupada says, why? Then Prabhupada says, if you have any doubts, you can ask me. Purushottama says, Prabhupada, you have already told me if I should ask my doubts only to someone whom I trust fully. So Prabhupada was very much hurt. So eventually Purushottama left. And after Purushottama left, Prabhupada was saying this, that is, to his other devotees. It doesn't matter if he doesn't trust me, but why does he trust the scriptures? The scriptures, this is what Prabhupada said. I am elaborating. In the scriptures, there is clear description of what is the moon. Moon is a heavenly planet. And people have to acquire some qualifications to go to the moon and enjoy the life there. The moon is not a barren place where there is no water, there is no rain, no mountain, no greenery, no human beings, only rocks and sand. That's not moon. So Srila Prabhupada said, how can he not trust the scriptures? So like that. So anyway, Purushottam left, but then there is a lot of things in this book about what Purushottam said later on. Purushottam, I don't know whether he's still in ISKCON because this book itself is quite old, but Purushottam later on told that Prabhupada gave me so many gifts, and one of the gifts was faith in God. Before coming to ISKCON, I had no faith in God, but afterwards, now he gave me the faith, and he also gave me this. You listen carefully. He also gave me a way to look at the world with loving eyes. Now, even now, sometimes when I look at the world, I have that loving eye and I realize that this is the gift I have received from Prabhupada. So not that Purushottam is totally detached, but I don't know whether he eventually returned also. That story is not here. Maybe we'll see it in some future pages. So don't jump to conclusions. That Neha Vikramanaswasti Pratyabhayo na Vidyate Swalpamapyasya Dharmasya Trayate Mahato Bhaya. So Prabhupada will never leave anyone who has served him so nicely to high and dry with nothing. So this is one story. And George Harrison, we have already discussed. One more little detail is Shyam Sundar, who very much hesitated to go to George Harrison for a donation. Subsequently, he went himself without even telling Prabhupada, saying, I have a shortage of funds for the temple. I have a deadline to complete, and please give me $3,000, 3,000 pounds. He borrowed, not borrowed, he took a donation directly from George Harrison. So this is the transformative effect that Prabhupada has on his disciples. Everyone realizes. Prabhupada told George Harrison also subsequently, don't think it is your money. Prabhupada told, don't think it is your money. It is Krishna's money. It is meant to be used in the service of devotees and to Lord. And Harrison completely accepted that. Eventually, George Harrison bought a huge estate for London. Does anyone know? Has anyone heard? Has anyone visited London? He purchased a estate that is today called Bhakti Vedanta Manor. He purchased and gave it to ISKCON. There is a nice temple there also. It's a very nice temple. And somehow I visited the temple way back in sometime, I don't remember, 1984 or 85. I have visited the temple, but I did not become a devotee. I did not even know that I was in the Bhakti Vedanta manor of ISKCON. I just visited the temple. I had some darshan. Maybe I think it was on a Janmashtami day. But then nothing. I came to ISKCON much later, almost 20 years later. Anyway, so that is George Harrison is a very important person as far as ISKCON is concerned. Well, now we are going back in time. We have another 10 minutes, right? We can take another 10 minutes. So,
Yes, Prabhuji.
April 9th, 1969. You remember Prabhupada went to London in September. So this is before going to London. As I said, I had skipped certain things in order to cover London. So we are now going back. So Srila Prabhupada is in the Second Avenue Temple. It is now very crowded. Both old devotees and new devotees are there. Old devotees of earlier time, 1966, and many new devotees have joined. So the temple has become very crowded now. And Prabhupada is recollecting in his lecture there that one of the newspapers called Honolulu Times, when he was visiting Hawaii, they had written, Swami is a small man, but he is delivering a great message. So Prabhupada said, it is very true. I am giving you unadulterated, pure message of what Lord Krishna gave, without any additions and subtractions. And so the message is great. Srila Prabhupada said like that. And then Brahmananda, the temple president of New York, he brought a globe to Srila Prabhupada. On that globe, there were markings of all the ISKCON temples, and there were already 15 temples, right? And he was showing this with his markers. And Prabhupada is very happy. But then, is Prabhupada contented? No. What Prabhupada says? See, Prabhupada says, I want each of you to go and start a center, right? Whatever number of devotees are there in New York now, he is telling them, I want each of you to go. That means alone. Each of you to go and start a center. He cannot go in a group. At least in London, he sent 6 people, 3 couples. But here he says, each of you go and start a center. What is the difficulty? This is a famous phrase. One of his devotees has written, I don't know how many of you are aware of so many biographies written by his disciples, Srila Prabhupada's disciples. Have you come across? Many, many books are there written by Srila Prabhupada's disciples. One of the books is called 26 Second Avenue. That is written by, I don't know whether it is Mukunda. And then there is a book called Chasing the Rhino. That is a book written by Shyam Sundar. Then there is a book called I Will Build You a Temple. That is written by Giriraj Maharaj. And our glorious spiritual master, I think that is written by, and like that there are unlimited books on Srila Prabhupada. Biographies of devotees quote Srila Prabhupada. And one of the books title is What is the Difficulty? One of the biographies, because Prabhupada would always say, what is the difficulty? Then Prabhupada says, take one mridangam, another person will come, right? You go alone with a mridangam. Then another person will join you and give him the kartals. Then Prabhupada says, when I came here, I was alone. Then Brahmananda and Achyutananda came and they were dancing. After chanting, hundreds of men will join and enjoy the dancing. Like the Prabhupada said, he encouraged each one of them to start a center. That is the courage. We say Simha Guru, no? That is Simha Guru. He's not only he's like that, he's encouraging each of his disciples to be like that. Each of you start one center. Actually, there is one devotee. I hear, I am in Chennai, and I hear there is one devotee. He belongs to a remote place called Amba Samudra in Tamil Nadu. And he's now in Bombay. He's serving in one of the GBC departments. Murali Shyam Prabhu is his name. And he's conducting Tamil Gita classes. And through that, he has cultivated thousands and thousands of devotees in Tamil Nadu. I don't know, all over the globe. All over the globe. In Chennai alone, there are more than 700 devotees. All over Tamil Nadu, I don't know, they run in thousands. And he conducts regular programs for them. They daily meet early in the morning to chant for between 3 and 5 o'clock, something like that. And there are regular interactions between full-time devotees and these groups of people. They come together periodically in different places, and then they have nice programs. They go for yatras. One person cultivating thousands across the globe. Just see the potency of this movement. Has anyone heard of this person? This Tamil Gita group? Okay. So it's something amazing. Even yesterday we were in the park, me and my wife were walking in the park, and we met one person chanting. We asked him, he said, I am part of Tamil Gita group, like that. He's now a full-time servant of this group. And we saw him with his little daughter, his wife and he, they are fully dedicated to this mission. So that's what Prabhupada is encouraging. All of us to become
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Tamildita.com is very, very famous, Prabhuji, especially people who want it only in Tamil. It's very famous. They also have regular sort of get-togethers, like meet with all
Correct.
and here.
Correct.
In all big mandapams and other things
Yes.
in Chennai, they have grand programs.
Yeah. Thank you. So this is a one man's effort. And he has now developed so many leaders. And each leader is in charge of a territory. And they organize programs. It is flourishing like anything. So that is a power. Then Rukmini Mataji asked Srila Prabhupada, can girls also do this? And then Srila Prabhupada replied that why not? Krishna makes no distinction of dress. What does he mean by this? Anyone?
The body, Prabhuji.
So there is no thing like female body or male body.
So when Prabhupada talks about dress, he is talking about the body. So Prabhupada said, how does it matter? Krishna makes no distinction of dress. And he quoted Janavi Devi, who is the wife of Nityananda Prabhu himself. And she became a great spiritual master. And she initiated so many devotees. So like that he told. And then Prabhupada said, when you go out, there will be many questions. But Krishna will give you the intelligence to answer. So Prabhupada encouraged everyone to go. And again, Prabhupada speaks in many occasions that the spiritual master is empowered by Krishna to make some adjustments, not in the core philosophy or principle. That is, for all times, it is the same, right? To develop Krishna Prem, whatever is required to be pure, Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojana. These concepts are they are non-negotiable. But within that, as regards the details, the Acharya knows how to adjust depending on time, place, and circumstances. Like Srila Prabhupada reduced from 64 rounds, which is actually equal to 1 lakh names of the Lord. He brought it down to 16 rounds, 25,000 names per day. That is the power of an Acharya. So he could do that. And so Prabhupada also made many adjustments for ladies within his ISKCON. So we should understand. With so much gratitude, we should appreciate what Prabhupada has done for us. Prabhupada has removed that sense as far as the Western society is concerned, all distinction between men and women. For example, he allowed brahmachari women to stay in the temple also. It is unheard of in India. Only men can be brahmacharis, not women. But women also were accepted, and they were staying in 2 different quarters in the temple. Prabhupada did such revolutionary things. And women took second initiation when women were doing arati. So many things Prabhupada introduced in his ISKCON. But Prabhupada was Same time, he would not do that in India, because India has a certain culture which is coming from the Vedic times. We have a Varnashrama system. Women have a different role here in India. Prabhupada appreciated that also. So Prabhupada was not rubbing, the wrong way, that people will all become upset. They will start bristling. Oh, what is this Prabhupada is doing? He's breaking all way. He was not doing that. So please understand in the right way, right spirit, what Srila Prabhupada is saying. In another time also, no, one of the Matajis asked Srila Prabhupada, we have already seen that. They asked Prabhupada, the men are telling that women are not very intelligent, so we cannot make so much spiritual progress and all that. Prabhupada replied, if you think that you are a woman, then what they are saying is right. So we discussed that time that what Prabhupada meant was, if you have risen to the level of soul consciousness, then you are not limited by your woman's body. You have to rise to the level of soul. If you are not risen, then you have to accept the limitation and remain within the boundaries set by the society, in our Varnashrama system, like that. Okay. Should I stop now or take another 5 minutes? Little more we can cover, because there's so much more to go. All these
Yes,
things,
Prabhuji.
is it okay? Because I had covered all these things in today's Tamil class. So if we cover it here, or should I, what do you think? Should we have a class tomorrow also? Instead of Bhagavad Gita, we can have Leelamrit. If that is okay, we can meet tomorrow.
Okay, Prabhuji. We can have it tomorrow.
Yeah, because I think what I have is a little more, cannot be sufficient time. So we'll discuss it tomorrow. So this is an announcement to all of you. We meet again same time tomorrow, not for Bhagavad Gita, but for Prabhupada Leelamrit, the next session, 30th session of Prabhupada Leelamrit, which is entitled A New Threat to ISKCON. It's titled A Threat Against ISKCON. That's the topic. So it's a very, very important session. I hope to see all of you there. If you have any comments or suggestions or questions, please ask now. Otherwise, you will avoid them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. It was wonderfully explained. We feel that Prabhupada is living with us. Our only hope is take the Vani of Srila Prabhupada and follow his instructions, so that we can also feel closer to Srila Prabhupada like them. I was thinking today, not only those disciples are closer to Srila Prabhupada, we are also closer. So if we make use of it, Prabhuji. So